Da da da. We're spinning. Come on. There we go. All right. We are live on Facebook now. We just have to get it so our Instagram people can join us. And then we are ready to roll with the amazing Debbie Macomber. I am always so excited to get a chance to talk with you, Debbie. I gotta say, and for anybody who misses part of this, you'll just have to start at the beginning and listen to the whole thing when we're done because you're not going to want to miss any of this. This is really going to be good stuff today because we're going to be talking about time management with the amazing Debbie Macomber. And of course, you know, we always like to reward you for hanging out with us. So there are giveaways involved. I see Diane's already made it. Hi, Diane, coming in from New Jersey. Thanks for joining us. We always have a little gifty to give away here. We'll be drawing a name later for anyone who's involved and commenting. Somebody's going to get a copy of my book, Welcome to Moonlight Harbor. And oh, by the way, speaking of books, shameless plug moment. The Man Next Door is ridiculously on sale, low price on Amazon for the trade paperback right now. So if you want to get it for yourself or somebody else, it's the time to do it. So one giveaway from me.
I got it paid full price.
You got, oh no, now that's true friendship. I couldn't believe it. I go, oh my gosh, they're trying to get rid of them, I think. Let's get these out of here. Debbie's also going to be giving away one of her books for some lucky commenter and somebody who's hanging with us. So thanks. I see a lot of you have joined. Some of our favorite regulars are here. Carolyn's here. And Debbie's here from Zephyr Hills. Cindy's here. Hey, waving at hi to Gerhardt, who's actually off doing something else at the moment. I'm on my own, you guys. So I hope I can do this and not blow it. Anyway, so why, of all people, but I want to talk with Debbie Macomber, besides the fact that she's an internationally best-selling author. She's like a legend in the romance writing and fiction, women's fiction community. But other than that, why? Well, because for those of you who don't know, I know a lot of you know who Debbie is and what she's done. I'm just going to give you a summary of the fabulousness that is Debbie Macomber. So she has had, let's see, she's had, I meant to ask, do you have any idea how many books you've written now? I mean, there would be so many, you probably lost count.
Well, after being published 40 years, and you know how they do it, the publisher will get 2 books that had previously been published, put them in a single column and give it a new title and a new ISBN number. So I have lost count, but I know it's well over at least 200.
Oh, that's so amazing. Oh my gosh. Oh shoot. Somebody just asked, where's my book on sale? It's on Amazon, by the way. So, but anyway, so that's how many books. Plus she was trying to keep count of that too. And we think it's 9 movies she's had made from her books. She's had a TV series made from her books. How many of you ever saw the Cedar Cove series with Andy McDowell that was on Hallmark, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so how many of you seen that? This woman has been around. And in addition to all that, she has written cookbooks. She has been heavily involved in representing the humanitarian organization World Vision. I don't know if there's anything Debbie has not done at this point in her life. She's also a world traveler now. And oh, I love that. Cindy said, Debbie is the matriarch of modern romance.
Aw, thank you.
Is that? Oh, it's so true. So I thought, if anyone qualifies to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, time management, it is Debbie, because it's such a good example. You know, we all have the same amount of hours in the day, and some of us seem to accomplish so much and live so fully. And then there are others of us going, what happened to my day? What happened to the year? What happened to my life? And so I'm going to be kind of picking Debbie's brain a little bit, and we're going to talk about ways that we can make the most of the time that we have and feel like we're really accomplishing some things and not just kind of frittering it away. So I have some questions we're going to ask her. First of all, I want to talk about, we often hear the saying, I just don't have time. When somebody says they want to do something, but then they tell you, I don't have time, what is your response to that? Even if you don't say it out loud, what do you think about that expression? I don't have enough time. I don't have the time.
We all have time for what we prioritize. And if it is important enough, you will find the time if you want to do it. The one question that really gets me is somebody who will come up to me and say, I have this fabulous idea for a book. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you the idea, you write it, and we'll split the profits.
Yeah, like, and Debbie's like, I have enough ideas of my own, thank you. Go write your own book.
Yeah, I always say, you know what? I have a fabulous idea too. Why don't you write it? We'll split the profits.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my gosh. Oh dear. Well, I mean, and we do come up with ideas, but I don't know about you, but that's how I started my writing career. I just got this idea for a book, and I remember, and we were so broke at the time. We were broke for years, but I remember saying, "Oh, this." I had a friend who was a writer. I said, "I should tell Sharon this idea," and then I realized, wait a minute, I need money. I should write this idea.
Right.
And so sometimes the best person to write your book is you. Hi, Michelle, who has just called us two of her favorite authors, and now you're one of our favorite readers. Thank you for that.
Yes,
Anyway, so there's the answer. It really is. We do, again, all have the same amount of time. It's like, what are we going to do with it? How are we going to use it? Now, and Debbie is also one of the most disciplined people I know, really. I think discipline often plays a heavy part in time management. And Debbie, tell us a little bit about what you've done over the years to make sure you meet your obligations. Now, I know I'm going to hear that you have had help, but you didn't when you first started. So how did you make things happen?
Well, you have to remember, I started so many years ago with a rented typewriter on the kitchen table. And I had to find a way to write. Well, I still had 4 young children. They were all toddlers, basically. I mean, Dale was only 3 years old when I started, and Jody was 8. So she was the oldest of the 4. And so I know there are young mothers that really want to be writers. And I will tell you what I did. I let the children know they were my priority, absolute top priority. So I did a sort of a structure with them. The mornings were theirs. This is all during when school was up. So we had, in fact, I sold a fabulous article on this to a magazine, one of my big sales, of how I kept, how I was able to manage writing the books, being a writer, and still being a good mom. And so the mornings were theirs. And so every day of the week, I had something special. One day was we do science experiments. And another day we would cook. We'd make cookies or whatever. One day I would take them swimming or to the library. And one day we would do art. So I had something every morning that we set aside that they knew that they had my entire attention. And then in the afternoons after lunch or nap time or whatever, I would take that time to write. And they knew this is mom's time now. I had an hour or two, and believe me, you would not believe how much I could write in that hour. And the kids knew it was my hour. This is mom's hour.
That's great. I love that. That makes me realize that we often have to say, kids, I love you dearly, but right now mom has to do, fill in the blank. It's like sometimes we feel like we can't take any time to pursue our goals. We feel guilty, like, well, I'm not, and we're givers and we want to be givers and we want to give to those around us, but it's also okay to give yourself a little bit of time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the kids understood that. I mean, there were certainly times that they would, get into fights or whatever, but Jody, as the oldest of the boss, she would really keep control of them. That's mom's hour. That's a mom's hour.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Good kids. Well, and you've got good kids too. That helps. Huh. But okay, so what about the infamous to-do list? Are you a believer in using a to-do list?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I make a list every Monday morning. I make a list of things I want to accomplish or need to accomplish in the week. And so I set goals for myself. And they're not always writing goals, especially now. I'm writing very little right now. So it's like, I want to make sure I get 5,000 plus steps every day. I mean, I usually get a lot more, but 5,000 is the baseline. I want to make sure that I take time to read. Every single day I want to have time to read something, and then I want to do something extra. Right now we are in this Arizona home. There's still boxes that need to be sorted through, and I organized my pantry last week. So I always try to have something that I need to do, that's something extra. And then, of course, there's my lovely, wonderful addiction to yarn and knitting projects. So I always have knitting on, which, by the way, just happens to be a baby blanket for our grandson. Him and his wife are having twin boys.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I know. So one blanket is blue and one blanket is green for the Seahawks.
Oh, I love that. I think that's great. And oh, by the way, a couple new people in. Hi, you guys. Thanks for joining us. And thank you. We'll be later on picking a couple of winners to receive some goodies. And so we appreciate you being here. So yeah, the to-do list. I'm a big believer in keeping a to-do list also, because it just keeps you focused on what you need to get done. And if you don't have that darn to-do list, and sometimes it's interesting because I prioritize my to-do list. Here's the most important thing. Here's the next. And things like, there are certain things that don't make it on the to-do list. When they do, they slide there at the bottom and they get carried over for several days. Like dusting. Dusting will get carried over for several days before that happens because I hate to dust. Oh my gosh, things like that. I tend to, it's like, well, I'll get to that eventually. Obviously, it's not a high priority. And I've been, I think, getting back to the thing about making a little bit of time to charge your own batteries. I've been pushing pretty hard with book deadlines and things. And I just finished my book that will be out for this Christmas, my first draft to send to my editor. And I thought, you know what, I'm actually going to take, well, I probably won't really do it, but the plan is I'm going to take a month off. I'm going to read books I haven't read. I'm going to clean my house. What a concept. I'm going to spend more time with my friends and just do some of those things that have fallen by the wayside because I've been pushing so hard. And was it last weekend? Oh, if any of you follow me on Insta, you saw my first attempt at French bread that I posted. I had not baked bread since I was like in my early 20s. I thought, you know what, Sheila, it's time to do a few of those things again. So it's a good thing to build in some time, some little work balance time in your life. And I know for so many of us, if you're raising kids or you're working and you've got a household to run, it's very hard to fit that all in. But that's why we want a to-do list, because that's way, you will get the things done that you need to do, right? So since there are only so many hours, when you're prioritizing your time, Debbie, you said, okay, walking goes on the list, and your reading, get some reading time in. I'm sure, like me, you're always trying to make sure you get some Bible study time in, some God time.
Every morning I start my day with the Lord, every single morning, and that's just priority number one. I get up and so Wayne and I do Wordle. We challenge each other, and we're almost always the same. But then the next thing I do is do my Bible devotion, read my devotionals, and do my Bible reading, and write in my journals. And I have written in my journals from the time I was in grade school.
Didn't your brother sell one of your journals once? I just remember that story.
Two of my cousins made copies of it and sold it to the boys in my class.
Oh, so be careful what you do with your journal, you guys.
Yes. Well, the thing is, it was horrific at the time. I ran away from home. I was so mortified. And but it sold well.
Oh my gosh, that's just so funny. Hi, some of our newcomers who've joined us. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about time management here today with the amazing writing legend, Debbie Macomber. So cool that she was willing to do this and spend time with me. I've suckered Debbie into a lot of things over the years, and she's always such a good sport.
Yeah, your turn is coming, Sheila. Just you wait.
Oh gosh. Okay, so you talked a little about the kids with making sure that you had some mom time. Is there any other advice that you would give to moms who are in the middle of that crazy, I'm going 8 million directions phase of life?
I think, our children don't view us as anything other than their mom. I can remember early in my career, I was pictured in Newsweek magazine. Mm-hmm. I was so excited, and I was eager. The kids are coming home from school, and Ted was home first, and I said, Ted, look, mom's here I am. I'm in Newsweek magazine, and Ted says, "That's great, Mom, but are my gym shorts washed?" And I realized that moment that I was their mom. That they didn't see me as anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, just remember that no matter what happens in your life, you're their mom.
That, that is so true. I have to say, my daughter, when she got older, the teenager and a young adult, she's very proud of my accomplishments. And she would, when a box of books would come, she'd be the first one to get into it, just skim hers off the top. So I think as they get older, they appreciate more.
Yeah.
But I mean, aren't we all as children? We're so self-centered. It's all about us. We're the star of the show, and all the rest of the family are just the props and the cast behind us that keep the show of us going. So I mean, that is truly true. And I look back in with my own mom. She wrote a little newspaper column. That's all I remember that she did. All I remember is I remember seeing mom baking cookies. She was always baking cookies, or she was making dinner, or she was having ladies for lunch. But I don't to think of my mom as having a life outside of her family was very hard for me to envision, because we were the center, of her life, which is, of course, very cool. And we want our kids to know that they're appreciated, but we also want to make sure that we just spend a little time remembering that there are many facets to who we all are. So
Yeah.
I think that's important. By the way, Debbie, you're getting some mentions in. It looks like you're going to be Brenda's featured December book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very exciting.
The Date with Santa is the
Very,
book
very cool. Now,
already.
Joe Marie says, my sister and I do Wordle. So is that like Scrabble, Wordle?
In a way, you have 5 letters, and it's hard to explain. You just have to guess the word. And I always start out with one word. And if I get any letters, you take the letters that it shows up. It's kind of hard to explain. And next time we get together, Sheila, I will show you Wordle.
Oh, go. Oh, yeah, I've heard of it, not gotten into it. By the way, somebody did mention, Nicole, I wish I could have been a mom. And Nicole, I just want to say to you that you have got other callings in life than on your life. And sometimes we look at somebody else and go, gosh, I wish I could have done this, or I could have done that. That doesn't mean there isn't something important you're supposed to be doing. I think sometimes we focus in on one thing and say, this is what we all should be doing. And that isn't necessarily the case. I have a feeling you're doing important things as it is, and will continue to be doing important things. So for those of you, and maybe somebody's even saying, well, gosh, I'm trying to write and I feel like I'm getting nowhere. Well, getting back to the topic of time, sometimes it takes time. Wasn't one of you had some joke one time that you used to make about how long it took you to become an overnight success. Do you remember that quip that you used to make?
Oh, yeah, it was something actually I heard from a rock group that said it took them 20 years to be an overnight success. And so
I think there's a lot of truth in that.
True, because it's you look at the people now that are big stars. They've been at it for years. I mean, Shania Twain sang in smoke-filled bars for years. The same with Reba McEntire. That they work their way up. And now I kind of have a theory about writers. I don't know if I've shared this with you before, Sheila, about the 3 different kinds of writers there are in this world. And there's like my friend Linda Miller. She is a natural born writer. She wrote her first book when she was 13 years old. But, she has a very hard time plotting. And so when her plotting skills were equal to her writing ability is when she sold her first book. And I'm just the opposite. I'm a natural born storyteller. I had to learn to be a writer. But once my writing skills were par with my storytelling ability, that's when I sold my first book. And then there are the third type who, they possess both. They're excellent storytellers and they're excellent writers. And I like to say, and I'm not really joking when I say it, they haven't suffered enough, because you have to suffer. What happens is they sell quickly and they're one book wonders because they don't know what they did right. They just know that this book sold and now this tremendous pressure is on them to repeat what they did, and they don't know what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nicer if you can have the success after you knew what you did to get it, rather than I just stumbled over a gold nugget and now I'm rich and I have no idea how I got here, kind of thing.
Yeah. But that when all those years, and I know you've had them too, those years of rejection, we learned something, we forged something, and it became a tool that we built that became a foundation. so that when we did, and I think God does that on purpose, so that when we do have success, we can handle it because we
Yeah,
know that hard times were.
yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I want to circle back, and I know this is pretty well known. You don't keep it a secret, but when you were growing up, you were not the world's best reader. You were challenged when it came to words and reading. Can you share just a little bit about? Because I think this is so inspiring. Some of the things you overcame to become a successful writer.
Well, I'm dyslexic, but back when I was going to school, they didn't have, teachers didn't understand that. They didn't know that I had trouble reading and understanding. And women or girls with dyslexia, it's almost always boys. It's not that common that it is a girl. For whatever reason, I don't know. But I know that my dad was dyslexic too, and my grandpa. And so when I started school, the teachers, they liked me and they wanted, to help me, but they didn't know how. And so they would just pass me on to the next grade. And after a while, I learned how to sight read. I mean, I knew DOG was dog, but anything that beyond simple words, I could not read. The third grade teacher told my mother, Debbie's a nice little girl, but she's just never going to do well.
I just love that. Oh my gosh.
And, that became the underlying belief that I carried with me all through school. And it was about when I was 10 and in the 5th grade, when I understood the concept of sounding out words. Something clicked in my brain. And even to this day, Sheila, there are interchangeable words in my mind. And I'll often write a sentence and skip a word in the sentence. It's in my mind. It's there, but it doesn't make it on the page. That's why I have to have everything proofread.
No, that makes sense. I just love the fact of overcoming. For me, it was math. Math. I was, in fact, and the same thing kind of passed up, and nobody realizes you're counting on your fingers. I was still counting on my fingers as a grown up, even when I had to help my kids with their math. At least I learned a little bit more when I had to help them memorize their math tables. And I try to do, I don't use a calculator when I'm calculating different math figures because I want to keep working on that skill. But that was not an area I was good at. And so fortunately I have Gerhardt to make sure things go well financially for us. He kind of keeps track of all that because my head would explode. But the reason I had wanted to address the whole dyslexia thing was another example of overcoming. It's just so easy to make excuses for when we are not achieving what we thought we could achieve. It's very easy to just get a little on the lazy side and do the old, well, I'm not good. I don't have time thing. That's just, I understand how fast it goes, but we don't want to use that as an excuse to not use the talents we're given and make those dreams we have come true. So I think
there are so many time suckers out there, things that suck away our time if we let them, like social media or being on the phone or playing games, or there are just so many things that can distract us, and sometimes we use that as an excuse.
Well, or we don't realize how much, and we were time wasters. So my big one, and as authors, of course, we like to be in touch with our readers. By the way, a quick hi to all of you who've joined us on Instagram and all of you who've come in a little bit late here on Facebook. I saw my niece, the doctor, has joined us. Yay. I'm feeling fine, by the way, in case you want to know. Anyway, thanks to all of you who have joined us. But getting back to the time sucker thing, from, again, posting on social media, I need to post this or what book I'm reading or this recipe or this idea I have. And then it's like, oh, well, I wonder what else is there. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is funny. Oh, look at the cute kitty cat. I mean, and before I know it, there went 40 minutes that was going to be my reading time. And I'm like, where'd my time go? Well, you dribbled it away. It's like a time leak. And I think it's not a bad idea when we're deciding what things do I want to accomplish this year? What do I want to accomplish with my life? To also take a look and go, what are the time leaks in my life? Where is it leaking out? Where is it slipping through my fingers? Because we all have time leaks. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, definitely. And it's very easy to get that distraction. And, sometimes we want to do something, but there's that fear factor. if, I don't know if I'm good enough to do this. I don't know. We'll make internal excuses, and purposely we'll sabotage ourselves.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we just, and again, the excuses, excuses just don't get us where we want to go. Pam had posted, I had mild dyslexia, D and G, P and Q were
Yep.
tough for her.
Yep. Absolutely.
Was and saw were killers. I eventually overcame it. I'm so impressed that you did that. On many of my papers as a child, they say MAP rather than Pam. See, wow, I wrote right to left. So does any of that identify with any of that, Debbie, from your
Oh,
childhood?
absolutely. Those words are some of the very same letters and words that trick me. Just and such are interchangeable in my mind.
Wow, that's just amazing to me, and to be able to do that. Well, so Debbie, your days also have always been. You have been very disciplined in structuring your days. I remember the big, the big joke. Okay, we get to see Debbie okay, she has an hour. I don't work. Yeah, but you were very good at, you had regular office hours you kept, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did. And when I kept office hours, I learned something from my doctor. He took every Wednesday off to do paperwork and other things. And I realized I was hurrying out of the office every day because I needed to pick up my cleaning. I had a hair appointment or I was getting my nails done. And so I decided to book everything on Wednesdays. So I would go out to lunch on Wednesdays. And I found that I wrote as much in 4 days as I did in 5 before, because I didn't put a limit on the time that I would wait. I would stay until I finished my chapter, and sometimes that was longer than 4 o'clock when the office closed.
Wow. I love that. Well, again, and it's back to the whole time managed thing and taking time. That's the other thing that can be hard to do. We don't always take time to charge our batteries, and we hear about that life work balance thing, and that can be hard sometimes if you happen, depending on your personality. I'm kind of a type A, and Debbie, I think you might be a little bit too. It's just like, work, go. I got to do this. No. And a relative a while asked me, aren't you going to retire at some point? Well, yeah, maybe eventually, but right now I'm so driven. I want to do this.
You and I have bumped into this before. I reserve Sundays as my day of rest, my complete day of rest. I don't do social media. I don't get on. My phone is turned off. I take a nap every Sunday. That's the one day of the week if I don't get 5,000 steps in it, it'll be a Sunday. That's because I go to church, I take a nap. I really make it a day of rest. I don't do any shopping. I don't do any online shopping even. It is just one single day that I rest.
Okay, that is impressive. I can do that too. Day of rest. For me, day of rest, I am not going to do anything that involves making money. Well, for a while we were doing our gatherings on Sundays. You guys all know that, but that wasn't about making money. That was just about chatting and having fun. But I realized, you know what? The money does not have to be the God of my life, and I do not have to serve that 7 days a week. And if all you're doing is working, then there is no chance for your body to reset itself. There's no chance for everything to just take a minute and go, okay, now we're ready to go again. And I think it's really important to be able to build in some rest time. And again, I understand with many of us out there, if you're working and you're running at home, and maybe some of you are sandwich generation where you're helping out your older parents and you've got teenagers, or life is just busy. It can be very hard to build in that time. But I think it's really a good idea to build in just a little bit of time, just a little bit of rest, and it will just do your body so much good if you do that. Well, I want to move on to one more question here. And this is for those of us who are getting older. Again, you can be very aware of the passing of time. And maybe that can be a little discouraging for people. They go, oh my gosh, all my productive years are behind me, or I don't think I have the time to do this. What would you say to someone in that situation?
Well, I have a great story to tell. I love reading on my Kindle, and every once in a while I'll read a book that, it comes not from the traditional publisher, but just somebody that's self-published. And it's so good that I want to encourage them and say, this is an excellent story. And I read a book by somebody named G.L. Snodgrass. And it was such a cute story. And so I found an email address, and I sent off a little note saying how much I enjoyed the book, and just a little note of encouragement that you're a very fine writer. And not 5 minutes after I sent off that email, I got a return email with a shock. G.L. Snodgrass is a man. Regencies and YA and everything. He writes all across the board. He was 30 years in the Coast Guard and retired, and had always wanted to be a writer, but he figured it would take him too long to ever convince New York to publish him. And he felt, I don't have the time. I'm going to just leap right in and do it. And he's a natural born writer. I mean, he's excellent writer. So, I mean, he's in his 60s, and making a living, more than a living on Kindle and selling to Amazon.
That's awesome. So he found a workaround. And sometimes I think that's a really good point. Sometimes we spend a lot of time waiting for life to happen to us rather than saying, I'm going to go make something happen, and I know you've self-published some things. I've done a few things. I just did my little Starry-Eyed for Christmas about my little space alien room. I mean, I knew my publisher would just laugh and fall off their chair if I said, here's a book idea. So I just did it rather than wait and hope, that somebody was going to like that. And I think that can be the case of many things for us. We think, I should just wait and see if something happens. Well, I think it's not a bad idea to get the train moving down the track and see where it goes. Don't just keep the train parked in the station forever going, well, at some point somebody's going to come along and they're going to put some coal in this little steam train and we're going to go. No, start the wheels going a little bit and then see what happens. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes. And there's examples after examples of people who have become hugely successful in their retirement years.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to. It's not always that you're retiring from something. It can be that you are retiring to something.
Yes.
I remember someone I know who just recently said that. I did need to retire to something, not just from something. And that makes a big difference. And I see one of my besties, Jan, is on here too. And she was a teacher of gifted kids. And now she's retired from that. And she's doing volunteer work. And she's working on writing books. And it's just like the beauty of retirement is you get to explore new areas. And I don't think you're ever too old. First of all, you're certainly never too old to speak into the lives of others. You're never too old for a kind word. You're never too old to write a note to someone that's encouraging. You're never too old to take a box of cookies to the neighbor. Well, maybe you are. Maybe you don't want to bake anymore. But I was like, there are so many things that we're not too old to do. And I for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I was just talking about this recently. I think I'm going to put this on my newsletter. The one a day. I have the one a day method that I think is a good thing to follow. So every day, I'm going to do one thing that is good for me spiritually, one thing that's good for me emotionally, one thing that's good for me mentally, and one thing that's good for me physically. And they don't have to be big things. I'm going to maybe read for half an hour. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to not eat a cookie today. I got through today and didn't eat cookies. I'm very proud of myself. So it doesn't have to be a big thing. And those are tiny little time bites, but they add up to a big difference in how your life can be. And I think it's not a bad idea to break our life down. Where can I fit in 10 minutes to do this? Where can I fit in a few minutes that? If I got up just a half an hour earlier and had some quiet time, what would I accomplish? And I know we all know writers who would get up at like 5 a.m. and write. And Megan Chance, I always remember with Megan, she was working full time. And so Saturdays were her writing day. And nothing interfered with her writing day on Saturday. We would always have Romance Writers of America. There would be the big chapter meeting in Seattle. And if it was on Saturday, it's like, sorry, I'm not coming. I got to write. And I always thought that was just that was such discipline that she had carved out that chunk of time. This is what it's dedicated to. This is what I'm going to use it for. And then she followed through on it. So I think that's really important let's make sure we follow through on all those things we're deciding to do. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is important.
By the way, I see Charlene Keller. I did see you ringing in from Vancouver, BC. Very fun. Nice to have some of our neighbors up north with us. But well, anyway, Debbie, are there any parting words of wisdom that you would like to share as far as time management, how you've managed your time over the years that might be helpful to someone?
Well, I just think it's important to set your goals every day. I have a to-do list for every day, and to make sure that just like you say, that you take care of. I love your idea of doing something for yourself every day, one thing at a time. That I think that's a really great idea, because we do have to do self-care. But there's a verse in scripture that starts out, it's the Message Bible. It says, make a thorough examination of who you are, and then put yourself into it. And, I think that if we know ourselves and set our goals and keep our eyes focused on where we want to go. When I started off writing, I read the book by Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. And every time I got a rejection, I would force myself to sit down and read another chapter. But in that book, he had a little saying, and I would say this every single day when I sat down to write. I believe I am divinely guided. I believe I will always take the right turn in the road. I believe that God will make a way where there is no way. And I came to believe that, and set my heart on being a writer, and set my focus on putting words on the page every day. And, my dreams came true. But they weren't dreams that didn't require work, because it required a lot of work and a lot of dedication and a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah. Good point. We have a couple of comments I'll read here real quickly. Marie says, I'm baking chocolate banana bread. Oh, that sounds good tomorrow. And I use the mini pans, then I can share it with others. That way I'm not eating it all. And there you go. Gosh, you already got I'm doing something good for somebody. You're doing something that's emotionally good for you. And there's one of your fun things for your one a day that you've added. I think that's great. Let's see, where's somebody wanted to ask about a good cruise book, getting ready to go on a cruise. Looking for it. I was going to mention mine, One Charmed Christmas. That's one about the Christmas cruises in Europe. And actually I took the whole itinerary for what we did and wove that into a novel. It was very fun. See if there's anything else that I did.
Very clever.
Which one?
Your book. Very clever. That you wrote your itinerary.
It worked out just great, and plus, then you can use that as a deduction for your travels. So that's a good thing. By the way, Debbie does a lot of cruises too, you guys, and has done cruises with readers. I kept trying to talk her into doing our 2027 one, but we didn't get her, doggone. She's on to other big important things. But hopefully, she'll come back once in a while to visit with us. And you're an hour ahead of me, right? So it's getting on toward you would like to enjoy some of your evening. So I'm going to let Debbie go. And for many of you, I know, this is not always the best time, but for those of you who made the time to be with us, I want to thank you. Thank you for spending your evening with us. Thank you for being able to spend some time with Debbie. I hope you've been encouraged by her and have gotten some good tips on time management. And I'm going to first of all say goodbye. Oh yeah, before I do say goodbye, we will be, I believe next week I am interviewing a screenwriter, Lauren Snowden. And so we've got that coming up, more writers and more things coming up. We have switched to Mondays because Sundays are often family day, and I know it's hard for many of you to be able to join in on Sundays. So we're going to see how Mondays work for a while, but thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And a big thank you again all to our gang on Facebook and YouTube, wherever you're watching. And thank you to Debbie. Is she awesome or what? So thank you so much, Debbie.
You're so welcome. Happy writing, everyone. Happy reading.